Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. It's Yankee and the Brit. Week 17. This is crazy.
Yeah, welcome back to the show, everybody. It feels like a long time since we did one of these shows, which made me think it was our Thursday show, but it's actually our Sunday show. So happy Thursday, everybody. It's that time of the year where I just completely forget what day anything is on. And I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. And Jay, it was made all the merrier with some really good football games for some teams that had nothing on the line. The Dallas Cowboys and the Commanders played a good and interesting game. The Vikings and the Lions, that was a mad, fun game. Congrats to the Vikings for coming out with the win there, and the Commanders as well. And we're going to be reacting to those Christmas games. We're also going to be reacting to yesterday's Saturday games where the Houston Texans beat the Chargers and the Ravens came up on top of the Green Bay Packers. And Jay, we're going to be answering the question, are the Green Bay Packers in trouble, before moving on to Sunday's regular programming, which is reacting to every single game that's about to come up this Sunday with bets against the spread or with the spread. And you can follow us for that. And you can follow us for our fantasy players to watch. If you guys are in your fantasy playoff finals, good luck to you, and follow on to see the player that we're deciding is a good start that you may be worrying about starting going into this week. But Jay, first thing to talk about this week, I think, is the Christmas games. So let's go back through them. And Jay, let's start with the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders went up against the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys came out with the win. Before the game, all I said I wanted to see was a solid Dallas Cowboys defensive performance. Jay, did I get that? Did the Cowboys show the defensive performance we wanted to see going into next season?
I would say probably not, but I think it's because the secondary has questions. But it was the running game for me this time that you guys gave up 105, right?
Yeah.
In the run game. So going in, I had questions about the pass game. But I think it's more than a blip. Like I don't think it's something that you're going to carry over into next year. And I think a lot of times when you're out of the playoffs, some guys unintentionally check out. And I think sometimes, and even if you don't realize it, you think you're giving it all, and you could probably go back and look at the film and probably be like, oh, I was probably giving 80% too. So I don't think it's a huge thing. But the way the Commanders ran the ball, I was like, oh, fuck, okay. That was the only thing that caught me. I thought it was going to be your secondary, and it was the running game.
Yeah, I wanted to see a dominant defensive performance against the Washington Commanders team that were going in there with their third-string quarterback by this point. So we knew that they were going to run the ball over and over again. And Jay, the linebacker call blew up. Look, there was one big run in there that went for, I think it was Cross-Green Merrick scored a touchdown on it was like a 45, 50-yard run.
72.
So obviously that adds into the stats. So across the game, not too bad. But the linebacker call got blitzed by Deebo Samuels as well in that game.
72.
So you have a 72-yard run in there. We get gashed. So the running game, it wasn't horrendous across the whole span of the game, but Deebo Samuels got in there and got a lot of yards after the catch in the run game as well. Deebo Samuels looked great for the Washington Commanders running through there. Jay, it's the linebacker call for me. Like, yeah, the secondary has problems. We know the secondary has problems.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, though. I thought that was going to be the problem, and it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The secondary has problems. We know the secondary is a massive issue. But the linebacker core is something that's going underneath the radar here. And I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be in a really great position going into this draft to actually just take whoever the best linebacker is coming off the board. And if you can fix the linebacker position, like that's great with the best linebacker off the board, because that's usually around draft pick 15 to 20, you know.
If you look through history of the NFL, some of the greatest linebackers in NFL history come from the second round, middle linebackers. Not
exactly.
But middle linebackers,
Yeah, exactly. So they'll be in a good draft position to get a linebacker, to get maybe the second or third best corner coming off the board around their draft position as well. But it wasn't that defensive dominance that I wanted to see in this game either. And Jade, the other side of this is, especially with the Dallas Cowboys going up 21 points to 3, I kind of I was able, my family let me basically watch the first bit of the game. The Dallas Cowboys were 21 to 3 up, and then I thought, do you know what? It's not worth pissing off my family that much on Christmas Day to continue watching this game when we're already 21 points to 3 up. So I went back to Christmas Day and then came back on Boxing Day to watch the end point of the game and saw, oh shit, the Commanders are back in this. So the defensive performance was really not great from that point as well. But Jay, the other side of this is, has the offense taken a bit of a step back as well from being one of the best offenses in the league? As we've got into the later part of the season, they've taken a bit of a step back as well. They struggled against the Vikings 2 games ago. They struggled in the last game as well. And then they weren't great after the initial start in this one too.
Okay, but I need you to explain something to us Americans. What the hell is Boxing Day?
The 26th of December in the UK.
We know what day it is, but none of us have a clue on why it exists.
I don't think British people know why it's got a name. It's just a public holiday. It just means it's a public holiday, so we give it a name.
Which is funny because everybody here was off Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and then half of them had to work on Friday.
Yeah, so this year so you don't get Christmas Eve off in the UK in most workplaces. So you don't get Christmas Eve day off, but most people finish around lunch. And then you have Christmas Day, Boxing Day off. So this year it was, because Christmas Day was on the Thursday and then Boxing Day on the Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, we've had a 4-day Christmas basically for everybody just being off. And Boxing Day is the best day of the year because you don't have all the pressures of it being Christmas. You just get to enjoy time with your family and with everything that you've got. So, and we usually have all of our sport on Boxing Day rather than on Christmas Day, which is what Christmas Day was America. A lot of basketball and a lot of football for you guys.
Yeah, basketball's in their feelings. Charles Barkley was leading the charge of crying about football being on Christmas. Now, again, talking about a Cowboys offense, again, sometimes you don't even intend to do it and you just let off the pedal when you know it's over for the season. But I don't know what's going on with this whole George Pickens thing. That's where my question is, because now it sounds like because of the way he was about to get a contract, and now they're like, well, we can now franchise him for 20-some million instead of paying him 30-some million, and we don't know if he's going to be a fucking head case, so we're going to – it looks like they're going to franchise him. I don't know. That seems to – but then again, I have to ask, do you commit to Pickens with the issues that you see from him long term? If it wasn't the Cowboys and it wasn't the Dak and the Micah and the CD shit, I would say, yeah, you have to just go ahead and franchise him. But those three have caused so many issues with not getting contracts done. At this point, do you just say, fuck it, go in and pay George Pickens, or do you wait to see if the other shoe's going to fall off? I'm not worried about the Cowboys offense going into next year, but I am kind of worried for the Cowboys. Is this going to be a problem with George Pickens? Is he going to be mad that you franchise him? Is this going to cause a problem? I think the Cowboys, if they had a good run game, but if you upgrade the run game a little, I think they're going to be one of the better offenses in football. And like, how do you deal with them? Do you deal with the two massive receivers and Ferguson? Do you deal with the running game, which was really good? So if you add something to it, it gets that much better. I worry about Pickens. That's where it comes to with in the offseason for me with the Cowboys moving into next year.
Yeah, I think with Pickens, like George Pickens has seen a genuine downturn in production, but that's because CeeDee Lamb has come back. And the Dallas Cowboys run game and Dak Prescott just in general should always be run game first. With the way that they've built this offensive line, and the way Dak Prescott plays his best football, Dak Prescott, if the Dallas Cowboys get 100 yards in rushing, Dak Prescott has like a ridiculous win ratio as soon as the Dallas Cowboys get 100 yards. Obviously, most teams, if you get 100 yards in rushing, you're going to be winning football games, but Dak's is off the scale, the percentage that he wins by compared to when they don't get up to 100 yards rushing. And they got 100 yards rushing in this game. That's with Javonte Williams being out as well. They gave Malik Davis 20 carries in this game, and he ran for 105 yards. So it's keep the run game. And as long as George Pickens is on board with that, and George Pickens doesn't need the numbers to show his worth and make him feel good, then I say pay the guy. But if you get any inkling that George Pickens is going to be a head case if he's not getting the right numbers, then franchise tag the guy. That's the way it's got to be for the Dallas Cowboys, unfortunately, and with George Pickens, because the Dallas Cowboys offense is now so super powered and should be so brilliant going into next season that we should be able to focus all of our attention on the defense and not worry about the offense whatsoever. The run game is good to great, and I wish they would stop going away from the run game so often. Like in the Vikings game, they went away from that run game too quickly and went into their star wide receiver bag. And you thought, just run the fucking football. Like, our defense is so terrible. Run the ball. Like, just keep on the field. You don't need to make big splash plays the entire time. So as long as George Pickens is on board with that, then fine. I don't mind paying him. But if you get any inkling that he's not, it's maybe best to franchise tag him and see where it kind of goes from there. It's just unfortunate then, because you get into the same position that the Dallas Cowboys have been in for this whole time with this tag. And then you end up overpaying guys because George Pickens will probably come back again and be the best wide receiver on the team as well. And the Dallas Cowboys have an offense of a good run game. They have Jake Ferguson, who's one of the best receiving tight ends in the league, and 2 number 1 wide receivers. There's not enough ball to go around for you all to get amazing numbers every game. So George Pickens, are you okay with that? And if the answer is no, even tag and trade, I'd be fine with.
At some point, I got to go look, because I feel like the Cowboys have used the tag more in recent years than any other team.
Yeah, it feels that way. Or the tag on there. I imagine all teams use the tag around the same amount, but the tag on their best players. The Cowboys tag their best players every single time.
The reason that stat came to my head is because the Vikings used the tag one of the least out of any team in the NFL. So I was like, I feel like the Cowboys use it the most. Like, the Vikings never use the franchise tag. So that's why I was like, and I feel like the Cowboys always use the franchise tag.
Yeah, I feel like, Jerry Jones trying to penny and dime a little bit when you're one of the richest men on the planet. But I think the Cowboys should be relatively excited going into next season. I think the defense, the areas that the defense struggle in, is fixable. The offense is definitely going to be one of the better offenses in the league next year. And it's actually quite a relatively cheap offense because the entire offensive line is constructed with rookies and later round picks in there as well. So the offensive line is relatively cheap. You can spend the money on those skill positions for a little bit now, and then the defenses, cornerbacks are coming out in the draft a lot. Linebackers you can find in the mid rounds of the draft. It feels fixable with a good draft class next year. Jay, Cowboys, I'm a little bit excited for. Are we excited for the Washington Commanders going into next season? I think they've shown some fight considering they're down to their 3rd wide receiver. They've got Jaden Daniels back going into next season. Are we excited for the Commanders? Do they have quite a bit more work to do than people thought they would do going into next season?
Yeah, I think they really did not do much to fix that defense. It probably got worse. They're probably missing Jonathan Allen with the way he's been playing this year. I think they got to do a lot of work on that defense, and we had talked about that. But again, like, at what point do we start to worry, like, is Terry McLaurin getting old? Is Debo happy there? Even though Debo balled out, it seemed like Debo was playing for a contract, like a new contract. And is he happy there? I don't know. They seem to have more holes to fix going into this offseason than we thought going into last offseason, where we were thinking, okay, you got Debo, and Scary Terry, you just go and fix that defense, and that team's going to take a step forward. And they didn't. I feel like they took a step back, and I feel like it showed a lot of holes that we were overlooking from last season going into this season. So I feel like there's more to fix there, and I feel like when Dan Quinn came in, like, they got a spark and overperformed, and now they came back to earth, and it's not as good as, even though we said that, it's still kind of worse than we thought.
Yeah, the Commanders have got a few nice young pieces. Jacoby Crosby-Merritt looks really good. Got another 100-yard game for the Commanders. They've obviously got Jaden Daniels there. I just want to give a shout out to Jazan Newton, who got 3 sacks in the game and was causing problems all the way through. He's a good young defensive lineman for the Washington Commanders as well. So they've got those young pieces to build around. It's just they're aging out in other areas, right? Like, how long can Bobby Wagner continue to be your middle linebacker in this current form of the league where running backs are leaking out and the middle linebacker's got to be in coverage? Like, how long can Bobby Wagner do that, being 1 step ahead of the game, till it becomes he's so slow he needs to be 2 steps ahead of the game? Can he keep doing that? That's where I think the Commanders are up to. They need to get younger. I think they've got the right coaching staff, they've got the right quarterback, and they're the 2 main pieces that you need to build, and then they can build into that for next season. So reasons to be excited and causes for concern for the Washington Commanders next season. Jay, the Minnesota Vikings are going up against the Detroit Lions, and Jay, the Vikings and the Lions are now both 8-8 this season. They both have the same record. Is the Vikings record one of the biggest surprises of the season, considering the media coverage around the Minnesota Vikings throughout the season? They're 8-8. They're 1 game away from a winning season, despite what all the media has been saying about them.
I guess it depends where you're basing that off. Because at the beginning of the year, then no, it's not a surprise, and it's actually a surprise it's not better, right? Yeah. Then the way it started so awful, you would have thought the way the media was talking, the Vikings were going to win 3 games all year. I think, like, one, the defense found its groove, like, around week 8 or 9, which really helped the team stay above water. And then it's new quarterback, and then the quarterback carousel because of the injuries. I think a lot of inconsistency and injuries, because I was really shocked on this game just on literally they just IR'd like 7 dudes before that game, and they were all big-time starters, right? Mm-hmm. You look at Greenlaw sat down. Both tackles in O'Neal and Darisaw sat down for the year. TJ Hawkinson was sat for the game. Like, there was so many dudes, or Metellus on the defense, some of the biggest defensive players. And they're like, nah, you guys need surgeries and stuff. Go get them done now. And they still come out and figure out a way to win this game. But I'm not going to lie. I think this led more questions to the Lions than it did for me about the Vikings, because I think people who are following football and not just reading stats or whatever, you can see that there's a lot of talent on the Vikings team, and it was all, where are they going to get the quarterback right? Is it JJ McCarthy? How do you do this? The sad thing, though, is if you look, I mean, Max Brosmer had like fucking 70 yards or something, and he had 41. Huh?
51 yards.
Yeah, and he had 46 going into the last drive. Like, what the fuck? I mean, they won a game, and it was the 6 turnovers, right? And part of that, they played great defense, but a lot of that was really bad offense by the Lions. And I think this game just gave us more questions about the Lions than it did anybody else.
Yeah, I think just to round off the Vikings and stuff, I think, like, an 8-8 season with the amount of turmoil that the Vikings have had throughout the season, I think feels good. I think we saw enough from JJ McCarthy in that New England Patriots game and the Dallas Cowboys game. And then there's been some other throws and other big plays around there where it's like, okay, JJ McCarthy has got it. He just needs to stay healthy, get into the league, like actually play enough games to consider having a real season under his belt going forward. And then this defense can just carry, because there was something off with the Brian Flores calling the plays, I thought, at the start of the season. Like, the things that made the Vikings so special last year on the defense.
It was Harrison Smith. Smith being out, and he's the one who makes the checks at the lines and does all of that. And he missed for an unknown illness. This is one of the weirdest things, because none of us still know why he missed those games. Like, the Vikings kept that really close to the chest, so I don't know what happened where he missed those games, and they just kept saying due to illness. And this, one last thing before I get out of your way is, with J.J. McCarthy, the injuries, I do think there's 2 of those injuries that he plays if he's not a first-year starter. Yeah. I think they're really protecting him, and they don't want it to fall apart around him because of injury.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. J.J. McCarthy as well, on top of that, feels like momentum quarterback. Like, you get those rhythm guys, right? Like, when JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix is a bit like it as well, right? When you can see that JJ McCarthy is in rhythm, he gets like a nice 5-yard completion, and then it's a 10-yard completion, and then he throws a 20-yard bomb like going across his body while rolling to the left for a touchdown. And he's a momentum guy. It's really important in his first few years, and he needs to understand how to play under duress, and like when he doesn't have that momentum, how to build the momentum and stuff like that. But it is important while he's in this early stage of his career to just give him the best possible way to play, like the best possible platform to play football from. And when it was pretty clear that the Vikings maybe didn't have playoff potential this year, especially because they're in probably the best division in football this year as well, it did make sense to kind of sit JJ McCarthy as well. So I think the Vikings will be really great going into next year. I think, like I would say, they have the potential, one of the best potentials in any division, to go from worst to first in the same way that the Chicago Bears did, apart from the fact that the Detroit Lions might actually be the worst they might actually finish above the Detroit Lions, considering the Lions were meant to be challenging for the Super Bowl. They could finish bottom of their division going into next week as well.
I'm looking at, hey, we finishing with a winning record. We're going to go in, we're going to win this last game. We're going to slap the Packers in the mouth like all 3 teams in a row have done to the Packers, because they're on a slide. Let them go into the playoffs on a losing streak. Let the Vikings finish the season on a winning streak and go into next season feeling good. That's my hope.
Yeah, the Vikings should be feeling good going into next season, and the media needs to, people need to realize that the media is just like peddling whatever the loudest possible rhetoric is that they can throw. And sometimes you just need to sit, but take a deep breath and actually sit and watch football without listening to the media for a couple of weeks. And then you'll see where actual teams are. And the Vikings are one of those teams where the media have just been getting completely wrong all year. And the Vikings, I think, will be pretty good going into next season. And that was a huge win for them. But Jay, the Detroit Lions are officially eliminated in a season where they were potential Super Bowl contenders. There were pundits that have been picking the Lions to be their Super Bowl favorites as well. Jay, what went wrong with the Detroit Lions this season? What was their biggest problem?
Right before we step into that, am I the only one that remembers 2 seasons ago when the Lions get knocked out of the NFC Championship game and Dan Campbell tells his team that could have been our only chance? Remember, you and I were like, who the fuck says
Who
that?
says that? Yeah, who says that?
Looks like he might have been telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I think this just proves again, and I know you can't do it. The Lions fans were at me because they didn't read my whole comment in one of the posts, because they're all like, you can't fire Dan Campbell. No, you can't. Like off of 15-2, you can't. You can't, but you should have, if that makes sense. Like, you should have kept Ben Johnson, but I get you couldn't do it. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But the point is I think Dan Campbell's time may have run its course in Detroit, and I think that might be part of the problem. And I really think and I don't think they're going to move on from him, but if you don't move on from Dan Campbell, your team no longer scares me.
Yeah, and if we're diagnosing the Detroit Lions' biggest problem, it's the same reason why the Chicago Bears have gone from worst to first. It's Ben Johnson isn't in the building. And was Dan Campbell saying this could have been our only chance because he knew that Ben Johnson was going to get another job? And actually, did he think that the fall off was going to happen last season because he thought Ben Johnson was immediately going to get into the job, whereas Ben Johnson decided to wait for the right job for him? And actually, the fall off was meant to happen last year, and he realized how much Ben Johnson was doing. And look, we've said it, we agree. It's clear the Detroit Lions should have kept Ben Johnson instead of Dan Campbell, but there was no way for them to be able to do that. Like, there is no way for them to do it. It's all hindsight. We're not blaming anybody for not making that decision. It's just Ben Johnson was clearly the brains behind the operation. And if you have a young offensive coordinator, that's the guy that you need. That's who you need to have sustained success in the NFL as your head coach, because because the young offensive coordinator goes and gets a head coaching job somewhere else. So I agree that it's Ben Johnson. Jay, that their offense looks kind of stagnant compared to being one of the most diverse offenses in the
The
league.
Vikings shut down Jahmyr Gibbs, shut him down.
And this is where those young offensive coordinators, not just young, but any good offensive coordinator is great, right? You can be killing it at the start of the season, right? At the start of the season, if you're a solid offensive coordinator, you're doing fine at that beginning part of the season. It's what do you do when defenses in the later part of the season work you out? And Ben Johnson has those constant wrinkles. Andy Reid has those constant wrinkles on other plays. Kellen Moore, in New Orleans and for the Eagles last season, they were constantly developing on top of these ideas, these concepts that they set out that make their offense who they are at the start of the season. They're constantly developing on top of those. Whereas you see other teams with solid offensive coordinators, good offensive coordinators, just not the great ones, who have their concepts and that's what they do. And they only develop a little bit. They don't add enough wrinkles onto the top. And that's what it is with the Detroit Lions for me. That lack of development on top of those original concepts that they took from Ben Johnson. They just weren't able to get it there. And Jared Goff had a bad game in this one. He really struggled with the Vikings defense, but a lot of great quarterbacks struggle with this Vikings defense. This isn't necessarily a comment on the Vikings game. It's a comment on the end part of the season as a whole.
And the Lions, let's be honest, you're on Max Brosmer as the starting quarterback who's playing awful. You got Aaron Jones playing hurt, no Jordan Mason, all of this. And the only way you lose that game is by having 6 turnovers, and it's absolutely what the fuck you did.
Yeah, and I think as well in that game, the Vikings may have actually not minded losing it for the draft pick, hence all the IR sits and stuff. They weren't losing it for the draft pick. It's not like one of the games that we're going to be talking about in the late window where there are players being benched for the draft pick and Max Crosby with the Raiders, but we'll get to that. We don't mind losing this game, and it is better for us if these players sit because then they'll get healthy. And also if we lose, we get a higher draft pick, right?
The Vikings were in a weird spot.
Yeah.
I read something the best they could have picked was 14th. The worst is 17th. So at that point, it probably was 3 picks, whatever. But they did put a bunch of people on IR to go get their surgeries done. So I don't think that anybody would have been shocked if they'd have lost the game or held it against them. I think it's more of a shock that they won the game. Because as I'm watching the game, I kept still thinking, oh, Detroit's going to figure out a way to win this thing. And then every time I thought Detroit was going to get back in, it was another turnover and another turnover. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I don't think Dan Campbell is on the hot seat this offseason, but if they do this again, then it's next offseason.
You're wasting the little bit of window you have left, and I already think it's shut on you, though. And I know they're not going to move on. The Lions have been overly loyal to their coaches throughout history. And not that Dan Campbell is the worst coach out there, but he's not the guy to get you over the hump. But again, it's almost impossible to move on with the seasons and the way he's turned it around. You almost got to give him the benefit of the doubt. And then you got to go out and find you a great offensive coordinator, but good luck. But that's another reason why it's easy for us to sit here and go, you have to move on from the head coach, but who are you going to replace him with? It's not like there's some big name fucking head coach out there. There's no Brian Johnson. There's no Ben Johnson. There's no Mike Vrabel. There's none of these guys out in the coaching circle right now. So who do you go after? So because it's one of the weaker coaching cycles, I wonder if more teams hang on to their coaches that we thought might have been fired.
Yeah, and I think with Dan Campbell, actually, I think it is worth giving Dan Campbell another offensive coordinator. I said on the last show that Mike McDaniel becoming the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions could be one of the funnest things that we could see in the NFL. And I think that would make a lot of sense to give Dan Campbell a Mike McDaniel, and Dan Campbell can go to what he does. And then Mike McDaniel comes in and does the Ben Johnson stuff.
Nothing like having 2 coaches on your team when they do interviews sound like big dumb dipshits.
Yeah, well, maybe just hide Mike McDaniels in a back room every time.
And neither of them are big dumb dipshits, if that's what people are thinking. They just come
exactly.
across that way when they're talking to the media.
Yeah, Dan Campbell obviously has to do interviews as the head coach, but they don't need to hear from the offensive coordinator. You could just go hide him in a back room.
Or if it's Mike Johnson, they're calling for him. I mean, if it's
Mike
McDaniel, they're calling for him every week up to that microphone.
Yeah, I also wonder if, like, things continue to go shit with the Jets, and the Jets going to be the Jets, and for some reason get rid of Aaron Glenn. Like, maybe Aaron Glenn comes back in, and I don't think they will either. But it's the Jets, so difficult to know. Jay, moving on, the Detroit Lions are eliminated, which meant, Jay, that every game at Christmas there was only one team that woke up after Christmas still in the playoffs, and that was the Denver Broncos after getting their win against the Kansas City Chiefs. But Jay, the Kansas City Chiefs were playing a ludicrous. They weren't the Chiefs aren't in a great position. Yes, it's good to go in and get a win against Kansas City in Kansas City. But Jay, is this a positive or a negative result for the Denver Broncos?
Oh, it's a negative result. And it's what I put in the group chat. And we've talked about it on the show. And I was like, this is exactly why Denver scares me in the playoffs. Like, this is why I have no faith in them. You almost lost to the Chiefs in a game that you should have blown them out.
I was thinking the whole way through when I was rewatching the game, I was just going, why can't the Broncos blow teams out? Like, what is it? Because actually in this game, Bo Nix wasn't great. Like, that's this game. Bo Nix wasn't great in this one. But it's almost just like, was he not great again? Because they're asking him to do things that he's not actually very good at doing. Like, Bo Nix, to me, screams gunslinger. Like, every time I watch him do well, it's because he's just been let off the leash to go and do well. And was it because in this game, Sean Payton says, okay, the only way we lose this game is we make mistakes. So let's just not make mistakes. But you can't play let's not make mistakes football when we're going into the playoffs. You have to play let's go and win football games when we get into the playoffs. Jay, why can't they put these bad teams away?
No, it is coaching, right? I mean, it is, because we've seen it in other situations. Even when they get up, then they play this weird football, not in this game, but they play this weird football and let other teams back into the game. And the Broncos are doing that weird shit the Vikings did with Kirk Cousins, like, let's just win these one-score games. The only difference was Kirk Cousins was winning one-score games by having shootouts where Bo Nix is being held back on a leash. And when they get into the playoffs, these close games, it just takes one bad play for these close games to blow up in your face. And there's no tomorrow when there's in the playoffs. And this is why I don't really feel like the Denver Broncos are real contenders, because these games are and it's not just like, oh, it was this game. It's like it's almost every game. They figure out how to play it so that it's super close. And this, not only are you wearing your guys out, like making every game so like mentally taxing, not only physically, now you got to go into the playoffs with this. And I don't know about you, but there was points in that game where I was like, Kansas City's going to fuck around and win this game.
Yeah, and Kansas City in Kansas City, right? Like, it is important to mention Arrowhead is one of the bigger fortresses in the league. It's one of the harder places to go and play, especially when, like, the stadium's raucous and full. It's like Christmas Day, and like so everybody's off, so everybody could get tickets and those kind of things as well. So big game, and I'm watching it. I'm going, yeah, this is Kansas City. Kansas City could go and do this, because the Denver Broncos just fuck around. They don't just they're just constantly trying to play mistake-free football rather than just being the best football team that they can be. And
if Chris Jones doesn't jump off sides, maybe that's a completely different ending too.
Yeah, exactly. And that like the Chiefs end up giving that away in what could have been Travis Kelce's last game in Arrowhead as well. Important to say, we'll see how that kind of turns out going into next season. But there wasn't really much to talk about in that game, apart from the fact that the Broncos just need to put teams away. And when they get into the playoffs, no matter who they're coming up against, because they're probably going to be at home, against one of the lower seeds. They need to be putting those teams away. They need to put them to bed. And they just don't seem to be able to do that because they're too worried about making mistakes to lose games. Jay, that was the Christmas games put to bed, unlike what the Denver Broncos can do to their teams. But that was the Christmas games reacted to. We're now moving in to Saturday. And Saturday, Jay, there was much more on the line. And these Saturday games gave us some great games, with the Los Angeles Chargers falling to the Houston Texans, with both teams trying to lose this game. The Texans came out 20 points to 16. Jay, what are the Los Angeles Chargers? Because that game just didn't look anything like what they looked like for the past 2-3 weeks.
This is the stuff we've been talking about with the Chargers too, though. Like, if that run game's not 100% on point, they're going to struggle. And that's where the problem comes in with them, and that's that. So that's John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh football, right? Smash you in the mouth, play defense, run the ball. But when he was with the 49ers, when that shit wasn't working, he'd put the ball in Colin Kaepernick's hands. They would scheme stuff up, and they'd let him go get it. I don't see the same thing with Herbert. And I'm not saying Colin Kaepernick is better than Justin Herbert. What I'm saying is I don't see the same type of coaching. But then again, the 49ers had so many weapons around Colin Kaepernick that could have been part of why they do it. But Justin Herbert's not a quarterback you need to protect, which I feel like sometimes they're protecting. And it didn't help. He got sacked 5 times. Like, if you can't keep him standing, there's no way you can win. But if you think about it, between Hampton and Herbert rushing, which is their 2 top rushers, they had 66 yards of rushing offense. And when Justin Herbert's your top number 1 rusher, there's a problem.
Yeah, when your quarterback is your number 1 rusher, and it's only with 37 yards as well. And a lot of those were on one big, I think he got like a
28-yard run, yeah.
For first down, yeah, while he was doing it. That's always going to be a problem. With the Chargers, I think it's difficult to have any consistency with the way that their offensive line is currently operating, considering they currently have 4 out of their 5 linemen are just not good, like wouldn't get on most offensive lines in the league. With Joe Alt out and Rashawn Slater out as well, like that's going to be a problem. It's also going to be a huge problem going up against the Texans defensive line. And Josh Herbert was sacked 5 times, but he was under duress for a lot more of those plays as well. So that's always going to be difficult. And I thought Justin Herbert actually played a pretty decent game trying to put the cape on, but he's not the cape on guy. And he's not the cape on guy that people expect him to be, in the same way that Trevor Lawrence isn't the cape on guy that people expect him to be. Trevor Lawrence is much better when he's got a nice clean pocket. He's unbelievable, but he also has the ability to do the cape on plays 5 plays a game. 5 plays a game, Justin Herbert can look unbelievable. Trevor Lawrence is the same. They can both just look ridiculous if you ask them to do it 5 plays a game. The Chargers in that game asked him to do it pretty much 75% of the time. Justin Herbert had to try and look like Josh Allen. And Justin Herbert is not Josh Allen. And that's where people get confused with how good Justin Herbert is. Justin Herbert, top 10 QB in the league. Probably. Without sitting down and ranking them right now, he's a top 10 QB in the league. But there's a big gap between those guys, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, and Drake May currently, right? Those top 4 guys, there's a big difference to the next step down below them. And Justin Herbert is in that tier down as well. So he can't do that for you. But if you give him clean pocket consistently, he's unbelievable. And the Chargers can't offer that, especially against defenses like the Texans. It is important to say for the Chargers that the Texans are probably maybe the top 3 best defenses in the league, maybe the best. Like, they change around. The Browns, the Broncos, the Texans, they change around all the time as well. So I thought the Chargers just struggled with any form of consistency, and what was giving them consistency was the ability to run the ball. The Texans took that away, and they had no ability to get any consistency whatsoever. Jay, on the other side of the ball, CJ Stroud looked like he put the demons to bed of the Raiders game. So I picked the Chargers in this game because I just thought the Texans against the Raiders look terrible, and the Raiders not very good. And they scored 14 points on 2 huge plays in the first half. And then after that, Jay, CJ Stroud fell off. Jay, what grade do you give CJ Stroud for this game?
I mean, you get a C-ish. I don't know. Like, you won the game, so that gives you a little more. But he went 16 to 28 for 244, 2 touchdowns, but he threw 2 picks also. And wait, hold on. Hello? Yeah. Okay, I'll tell him. That was the Vikings, and they wanted me to let the Chargers know you can win a game even when you get sacked 7 times. So you can't use the 5 sacks as an excuse. All right. But anyway, I'm just saying that with CJ Stroud, you don't know which guy you're getting. And don't get me wrong, the Chargers have a decent defense, but he's so like hit or miss or up or down. It is really weird with what's going on with CJ Stroud at times. But it also comes down to, I think CJ Stroud is at his best when his running game is going, and they're so running back by committee, and 100 yards of rushing now isn't what you're looking for. You're looking for that like 130 mark between all your running backs in the NFL. And this no Joe Mixon thing this year has really been really weird for them. And he never got healthy, which was weird. So it makes me wonder what was going on there that we didn't know about at the beginning of the year. Their running game really hurts them at times. And I think because they've gotten better, everybody still forgets how bad their offensive line is.
Yeah, CJ Stroud is throwing under pressure a lot of the time. And he's having to do those Jordan Love style back foot throws, which are just completely inconsistent, like a lot of the time as well. But in this game, I don't know whether that was his problem, because both of his interceptions came on clean pockets. He just completely didn't see the guy cut off. It was 2 similar types of interception. He didn't see the guy coming across and just cutting off the line. He just didn't see that. He didn't read the defense correctly at all.
Well, and to go on your point, if you literally think about it, 141 yards of their offense came from 3 plays, 3 passes, right? So he had a 75-yarder to Higgins, he had a 23-yarder to Collins, and then he had a 43-yarder to Noel. So it's not like he's spreading the ball around and picking up all these yards. If you take away that, he had like 102 yards of passing if you take those 3 plays out of it. So him being under duress, running for his life, having to throw off balance, that has a lot to do with it. And actually, I think CJ Stroud should get credit that he gave up 0 sacks, but because of how bad the offensive line and how he's moving. But you're right. It seems like when he's got time, the Sam Darnold ghosts are still getting to him. He's rushing his throws, that kind of thing, and it's causing these interceptions when we're like, there's a clean pocket. But in his head, I bet it does not feel clean because of the way he's played all year. He probably has to feel like every snap that he's running for his life, even when he's not.
Yeah, and I think with CJ Stroud as well, like I think his receivers are actually helping him out. And when we look at Justin Herbert on the other side, and I'm fully in the camp with you of Justin Herbert gets too many passes for poor play. But in this game, Gadsden drops a walking touchdown, and Gadsden tips a walking touchdown in the air to get an interception that would have done the game. Will Dissly misses an extra point and a field goal in the game as well. Like CJ Stroud is being helped by his offense. Like when he actually is able to get the ball out to his wide receivers, the wide receivers are making big plays. It's just
Collins had some clutch receptions in that game.
Yeah, exactly. Nico Collins was incredible. Noel's route to break the coverage was really good on his touchdown as well. The speed for the first touchdown, I can't remember who that was as well, was great. Woody Marks, like without Joe Mixon, Woody Marks has stepped up nicely as well. So yeah, Higgins, thank you. Woody Marks has stepped up really nicely. So it's not like he's not getting help from his offense, whereas on the other side of the ball with Justin Herbert, like that was rough. Like his supporting cast was rough in that one. And CJ Stroud didn't have that same thing. I'm probably a bit below a C with CJ Stroud in that one, but he came out with the win. And that's what matters when going into these big playoff games.
Quentin Johnston is the only person on that team that showed up to help out Herbert, it felt like.
Yeah. Like Keenan Allen had one big reception on third down as well, but really is that it? Whereas, like
That's his only reception, though.
Yeah, exactly. And previously, the Chargers, for the past couple of games, the Chargers wide receiver room like makes all the catches that are thrown their way. Like they're doing a good job most of the way through the season. And in this game, they just completely whiffed. And then I said Will Dissly, he's the tight end. I meant Cameron Dicker, the kicker, who missed an extra point and missed a field goal as well, which would have put them on top. So Gadsden caused an interception and drops a pass, which cost them 14 points. And then kicking cost them 4 points as well. So the Chargers, just weird inconsistencies throughout. The Texans, CJ Stroud just needs to just calm down in the pocket. His offensive line is better than it was. It's still not great. He just needs to take a bit of time to relax in the pocket as well. And Jay, I think the Texans defense can continue to kind of overcome a lot of offensive problems because that defense is so good.
Yeah, the Texans can go, and the Chargers too can go in and win a playoff game, but can they go the whole way? And that's where I'm leaning no, right? We're at this point now, it's no longer, is this a playoff team? Is this a contender? And I would say no right now to both of these teams. No, neither of you are making even to the AFC Championship game, if I had to guess.
Yeah, they have big enough consistency issues on the offensive side of the ball on both counts.
You can go win a game for sure because both these teams got talent across the board. And if you play your best football, and yes, if you play your best football, weird things can happen in the tournament. We've talked about this. But you and I, when we're projecting forward, we just have to base it on what we're seeing, not is a team going to get hot and get lucky.
Yeah, exactly. And Jay, a team that everybody had as a contender was the Green Bay Packers. And they went down to the Baltimore Ravens.
Not everybody.
Yeah, everybody apart from us, obviously. But the Green Bay Packers went down to the Baltimore Ravens 41-20.
At home.
At home in Green Bay. Jay, was Micah Parsons having a bigger effect on the Packers defense than we realized?
No, I don't think Micah Parsons is the big factor. I think he's a great player who really helps. And I think he's more of like the cherry on top that if we're talking about banana split, I don't think he's the bananas or the ice cream. I think he's the cherry on top, right? After you build everything else, he's the guy that helps you get over everything with his greatness. So, yes, he is going to affect you, but I don't think he affected enough to make this. And I know Jordan Love is hurt. Everybody can talk about what they want about Willis. I don't think he played the best game in the world, but I also think he shows enough that I don't think he's a Packer next year. I think he's a starting quarterback somewhere, or at the very worst, he's in a team where he's competing and honest competition for the starting job. So, I think that's there. I think what we're seeing with the Packers is that this is what we talked about. It's the construction of the team is good. It's not great. And if they're not on, it becomes a problem. And somehow at the end of the year, they're probably going to miss the playoffs. The Ravens have clicked. Their defense has been looking more like we have been beating up this team defense. They're looking better than they did. I'm not saying they're the Ravens defense is back, but they're better than what we were saying a couple weeks ago. And, Huntley did just enough in this game to keep it moving, to keep them out of trouble, to keep them from 3rd and 107. You know what I mean? He didn't have 3rd and 23s, and Huntley did enough with his legs. Snoop is a guy that I think, could he start an NFL team? Yes. If he's starting, are you doing anything? Probably not, right? But he is good enough to start on a team. So, he's out there, too. I think we had a battle of two of the better backup quarterbacks in the league. It was fun to watch, but I think it shows a lot of weaknesses and holes that you and I have talked about with the Packers. And I think it highlighted them, and it gets people that who don't watch every snap of every game to start to understand the Packers are good. They're not great. And if they are not playing their best football, they're in trouble.
Yeah, I think especially in this game, I do think Micah Parsons was a miss because of the what he can do to a guy that's a backup quarterback. That extra step of speed that Micah Parsons has surprises a lot of guys the first couple of times they play him, but I don't think he is the big deal here. I think it's a bigger systematic problem for the Green Bay Packers defense that good running teams have run on them all year this year. The Bears did it to them not long ago as well, just put 200 yards on the Green Bay Packers. Derrick Henry, I think, has got his step back. I think there's something up at the start of the season. He didn't look like he had that step, but now it looks like he's got that power, that step back. In the past 2 games, we talked about last game how Derrick Henry not getting touches for the last drive of the game after he fumbled the ball, not getting those touches kind of might have cost the Ravens that last game against the Steelers as well. Might have cost them the playoffs, depending on what the Steelers do in the next 2 games as well. And Derrick Henry came out and balled out, and the Packers struggle with that kind of physical run game, and you're going to get that in the playoffs.
And they seem to switch, right? Where we always talk about how Jacobs is a good running back, can tear up the league, at times can just go off. They held Josh Jacobs to 4 carries to 3 yards. They held Wilson to 3 carries for 16. And then Malik Willis is the one who had the best. It was 9 for 60. And then I didn't realize this. I knew he played well, but until I looked back at the stats, he went 18 for 21 for 288 and a touchdown. That's pretty fucking good.
Willis was good. I think any Packers going out there saying that Willis was the problem I don't think really sat down and watched the game. They're still living off the fact that they think their defense is one of the best in the league, where their defense maybe with Parsons was top 10. With Parsons, their defense was top 10 at best. Yeah. Without Parsons, we're now creeping back to average. And actually, their run game against physical run teams. I'm not talking about any team can go in and run the ball on the Green Bay Packers. That's not what I'm saying. But if you have a physical run game like what the Bears did to them with Monungai, what the Ravens just did to them with Derrick Henry, the Packers can't hang with that. And then on the other side of the ball, I thought Malik Willis had a perfectly fine game. I think I was watching him. I'm going, this is perfectly reasonable. It's the Packers can't control a game whatsoever. So, Jay, I think we both agree the Green Bay Packers are maybe in trouble going into the playoffs.
Stupid question, because it is. But let's take the financial aspect of it. Is Malik Willis a better fit for the Green Bay Packers than Jordan Love because Jordan Love cost you $55 million a year?
It would be more interesting if the Packers didn't also just manage to sign Micah Parsons to a huge contract as well. So the money for Jordan Love is maybe not as much of an issue because of the amount of rookies they've got on the team.
But now if you take Malik Willis, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. You take Malik Willis, you open up that cap space, you go get some free agents on that defense and maybe go get you a number 1 wide receiver and then have Malik Willis play. Does that make it a better team? I'm not saying it does. I just threw a question out there for anybody who's watching. So put it in the comments what you think. I just threw that out there because I still say you stick with Jordan Love. Jordan Love's the better quarterback, but I do believe that Malik Willis plays well enough where you have to question, can this team be better with that money allocated somewhere else?
Yeah, I wonder if the Packers on that are actually missing Kenny Clark more than they think as well. The Cowboys have become a much better run defense since Kenny Clark walked into the team. I know we just bagged on the Cowboys for having a bad run game against the Commanders, but Kenny Clark has been good since walking in.
Your run game defense is fine. People can say what they want. You had this game. You have Quentin Johnson. You have Malik Willis. You have Quentin Williams. Your defensive line against the run is fine. I don't think anybody questions that. But it does make me wonder, and everybody, because Clark had one down year where the defense was bad, people don't want to even go look the defense was bad. So Clark, of course, didn't have the season he had before, wrote him off. And I think that it's showing up more than people thought it would.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think they may be missing Kenny Clark a bit more. Jay, are the Packers kind of in trouble going in to the playoffs here? Because it looks like, depending on who you think is going to be the number one overall seed, the Packers the Packers are definitely going in as the 7th overall seed. But looking at this, that's where they're going in. They're going to be the 7th.
They're going to play the
playing
Bears week 1, and they're going to, if they win, they're going to play the 49ers week 2 of the playoffs. And that's what I think.
Yeah.
Because I think the 49ers win out and take the number 1 overall seed. But even if I'm wrong, you're playing the Seahawks week 2 in Seattle. So good luck with that, right? I think I'd rather play the 49ers, even not if I'm the Packers because they have such bad history in the playoffs, but as a normal team. In the playoff, I think I'd rather play the 49ers than the Seahawks only because when the Seahawks are hot, they are amazing across the board talent-wise, where we're looking at the 49ers and we're like, they just keep figuring out how to win with injuries.
Yeah, and I think with the Green Bay Packers, I think going up against the Bears with this problem that they have against physical run games, that they're in trouble. They're in trouble of going one and done after that signing of Micah Parsons. Everybody's saying that they're the best team in the NFC. That's a big problem for the Green Bay Packers, and it's something that they need to address. And I'm not sure how you really address it at this point, apart from just filling the box and asking your wide receivers to go one-on-one more often, which against the Bears I don't think is a terrible strat, to be perfectly honest. Jay, what has made the Baltimore Ravens look different in this game? Why do they all of a sudden look like the Baltimore Ravens again? They're still on the bubble on the outside looking in. They still have to go out and win their division. They're one game behind the Pittsburgh Steelers now.
Yeah, they need the Steelers to lose, and they have to win for them to get in.
Yes, yeah, they play each other. So they've got their win. They've got their win. They need the Steelers to lose this week, and then they need to beat the Steelers next week.
And then I don't even remember. Are the Steelers playing the Colts? I don't even remember who the Steelers are playing, but Browns. That's what that is. Hey, but that's not the most outlandish thing to think of because that defense is nasty.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like the Ravens couldn't get in. And Jay, why did the Ravens just look a bit better in these past couple of games?
That's the $1 million question, right? What changed everything for the Ravens from what we were seeing? Their defense is playing a ton better. What is the reason? I don't know. I don't know what made them start to play better, but they're looking better than we were talking about throughout the year, and something clicked. And you can't even say it's because, Lamar got healthy and helped them, because that defense is what helped carry Tyler Huntley and this team to the win. So I'm not sure what the turnaround is and what made it turn around, but it did.
I think both games is Derrick Henry's production took a huge upturn in both games. I think that's a big part of it, but I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is different going into the week. And the defense has looked a bit better. It's looked a bit better throughout the whole season. That first bit of the season was so injury struck, and then they made a few trades, and it looks a bit better. But I'm surprised by how much.
It helps that Nate Wiggins is a tackling machine, but he can't be the one who turned it all around. You know what I mean? One corner is not changing life, but that dude is a tackling machine.
Yeah, exactly. And Jay, finally, we've kind of already spoke about this, but Malik Willis and Tyler Huntley both had decent games. There's probably about 8 teams that may be looking to get a new quarterback going into next season. And Malik Willis and Tyler Huntley on some teams' shopping list.
Yeah, Malik Willis for sure. I mean, Huntley threw for 101 or something like that. He played a good, clean game, but he threw for 101. But Malik Willis, and you and I had lots of conversations about him when he was coming out of the draft when Tennessee took him. I think they took him in the 3rd round. But Tennessee handled that whole thing like shit. And then you decided for a 3rd-round guy to come in and take over without developing him. I think the greatest thing that happened for him is that he got around Matt LaFleur and he got to sit behind and learn and start to develop. And I think we're seeing this is more proof on why developing a quarterback is so important, and more times than not, teams ruin quarterbacks instead of helping them, and it becomes a problem. So I think Malik Willis has got to be kind of one of the top guys on the radar that we weren't talking about this year when we were like, hey, who could be this quarterback? And we always go to the Mac Jones or whoever. I think Malik Willis is probably that guy who's in the number one spot right now to be a starting quarterback on a team next year.
Yeah, I think obviously Mac Jones has got, like, Mac Jones is big on that, but you know, Malik Willis, the Indianapolis Colts need a guy like that. That would make sense to me. Like that position where it's not really quarterback centric at all, like by a long stretch at all. But Shane Steichen gets around him. They don't look like one of those teams that will be able to go up and get Mendoza as well. But it'd be interesting to see what the Panthers do. It'd be interesting to see what the Jets do. What about the Pittsburgh Steelers? Doesn't he scream kind of like a Mike Tomlin kind of quarterback if Aaron Rodgers is retiring? So there's plenty of teams out there that I think would make sense for Malik Willis. I think Tyler Huntley makes sense to be Lamar Jackson's backup. He should basically be Lamar Jackson's stunt double for the rest of his career. Like, just wherever Lamar Jackson is, Tyler Huntley goes behind him, and that makes sense.
If you can get him, I think Tyler Huntley's the perfect backup for J.J. McCarthy, too.
Yeah, like similar guy. I think the Vikings go into my head as one of the teams that should be looking for a quarterback next season, but not a quarterback to replace J.J. McCarthy, a quarterback to push J.J. McCarthy. Like,
yeah, Malik Willis would be perfect, but I bet he wants to start, right? Like,
yeah,
you're not going to bring him in.
If you're going to move.
But
yeah.
I think a guy like Huntley could be great to back up a guy like JJ because, again, not as much as Lamar, but JJ's also an athletic quarterback who can do different things. I don't think you have to change the system. If JJ gets hurt, you bring in a Huntley. I think Huntley's one of those guys. I don't know what his contract situation is, but if his contract's up, I think you have a handful of teams trying to get him in as a backup.
Yeah. And Jay, our contract situation is that we are doing this voluntarily, basically self-employed when we do this. So when anybody comes and if anybody comes and watches us, we always really appreciate it. We appreciate it the most when people like, subscribe, and especially comment. But if you guys are feeling generous this holiday season, then what you could do is buy us a coffee.
Me and Jay set up the Yankee and the Brit nearly 5 years ago, and in that time we've gone up to about 7 shows a week. And with the help of our loyal community, we've been able to keep growing. But we want to grow even more, and that's why just giving $5 or £5 could really help us out in our Buy Me a Coffee fund. And all you have to do is hit the Buy Me a Coffee link in our YouTube descriptions. That'll be on every single video. You can give £5, $5, you can give it once, you can give it every month. And what that does is it allows us to grow and even buy ourselves a coffee every once in a while.
All right, guys, any help is massively appreciated. But most importantly, if you are watching this video, remember to like, subscribe, and comment. It always seems to be that the people who are watching aren't subscribed to us. So if you're watching and are unsubscribed, then please hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit the notifications. We go live about 2 hours before every single game that's played. So please go like, subscribe, and hit the notifications button. Jay, let's move on to some spread betting. We have our week 17 early window previews, and we're starting down in Florida with the Miami Dolphins going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are 5.5 point favorites. Jay, what can the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do to stop this late season collapse?
I don't know. I mean, you benched your quarterback. Your coach is on the hot seat.
Buccaneers.
You said what can the Buccaneers to do to stop? Okay, I was already shitting on the Miami. So there you go. That's what Miami can do. Nothing. I think this is the game that they needed for the Bucs. I think you need a team like Miami. You need to get this win. You need to come out there. But they need to handle Miami handily. And the reason I say that is because they need good vibes. They need good vibes to try to go into next week to win the division. go. You need to go in. You need to get this win, and you need to get this win in a fashion that doesn't make and fuck what we say and fuck what your fans say that makes you not question yourself, right? You need to go play that game where everybody comes out and says, okay, we're regrouped, we're ready, we're going to go in, we're going to take this playoff spot and go on a run. I think it starts, you got to get the run game going, but you also want to get I'm not worried about Baker Mayfield. I think you get everybody else going, Baker will be fine. You want to get that defense to stop the run, put some pressure on the quarterback, and you want to get your run game going. You want to get Bucky Irvin going. That's the kind of thing I think that Tampa needs to do to get right to try to make this playoff run.
Yeah, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers only have 2 wins in their last 9. That's 1 win in their last 7. And that is 0 wins in the last 3 games where they played their division rivals, losing to the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers all in a row, giving the Panthers the ability to win the division if the Panthers this week and next week they go out and win as well. So that's a hell of a rot that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are trying to stop. And Jay, one of the positive things that has happened during that run is Bucky Irvin has come back and Bucky Irvin has looked great. Get behind Bucky Irvin, run the ball, run it down Miami's throat, and whatever the hell you do everything you can to stop Devon Achane. Just get in there and just pack that box and make Quinn Ewers beat you. That's what, if Quinn Ewers comes out and beat you, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs anyway. So just let that guy try and beat you and take away Devon Achane. That's what they have to do. Get behind their run game, force the run game, force that straight through. Even if it doesn't look like it's going well at the start, keep forcing it, because that's what they're going to need going up against the Carolina Panthers next week. And I agree with you, Jay. They need those good vibes to come back to Tampa. Like Baker dancing around the field, like doing crazy shit. Baker's been injured for that rot. Baker's been injured for a lot of it as well. So some good vibes coming into Tampa Bay. And Jay, you already kind of moved on to it, but Tua has been benched for this game. Do you agree with that decision, Quinn Ewers as the quarterback of the?
Yes, because they're trying to hit lightning in a bottle. They need to see if they have a 7th round quarterback that can be their Brock Purdy. But let's be real, even if he is Brock Purdy would be getting killed in Miami and would not be Brock Purdy with what's going on. But they need to see if they have a young guy, because they want to move on from Tua, and they're going to eat $90 million in cap if they move on from Tua, and they can spread it over 2 years, but they're still going to eat that. And they got to figure out, do we have a young, cheap guy that we can play at quarterback to try to ride the storm of eating this cap hit the next 2 years? Because I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like Tua is 100% done with the Dolphins.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that Tua is done in the NFL. I think Tua immediately becomes, because the Dolphins have to eat so much of what's left on Tua's contract, Tua actually becomes a really great acquisition for a lot of teams who are looking for a quarterback. It's a down quarterback year in the draft. There's only really one guy coming out with real solid first round pedigree, and that's Mendoza. Coming out with that first round pedigree. So Tua then I think jumps right to the top of the list if his contract is like a nice contract. You have like Tua, Mac Jones, Malik Willis that we've just been talking about, Mendoza, Kyler Murray out there as well, but Kyler Murray is going to be on a big contract. You have Kirk Cousins, and in that box, if you get Tua Tagovailoa for the cheap, he's going to look good if you put Tua in a good system. And then on the other side there, for the Miami Dolphins, Quinn Ewers actually didn't play too badly in the last game. He went 20 of 30 for 260 yards. He did have 2 interceptions, but it's his first game in the NFL. The Dolphins scored 21 points. I know it's against the Bengals team, but he looked bad. And in a down year for quarterbacks, just ride next year with your rookie. Give him some games this year. Ride next year with your rookie while you eat shit. And then maybe next year will be a better year for the quarterbacks coming out. The quarterbacks that we expect to step up next year do step up, and Miami will be in a good position to go take those. I think it's the right decision to bring out Quinn Ewers, even though I don't have loads of hope in Quinn Ewers. He screams career backup for me.
And when we talk about quarterbacks, we're always like, what team would benefit from this quarterback? What team would this? And I think for Tua, Tua benefits if he goes and sits behind, say, Matt Stafford, learns from McVay and Stafford, and maybe becomes the heir apparent when Stafford retires? Or you go do what Daniel Jones did. You go sit behind J.J. McCarthy for a year, back him up because he could get injured. We've seen that. You get time to play. You get time to reset under a quarterback who knows offense. You go sit behind Brock Purdy. I think this is the type of move that Tua should be looking for next year. But I think it's really hard for a competitor to go, I'm going to go sit and be a backup. But I think for a year, it would be great for Tua to be able to go back up a really good quarterback on a winning team with a good coach. I think it would do a ton for him.
Yeah, and what's always really interesting with left-handed quarterbacks is you've got to go to a coach who will be best able to utilize that. And a guy like Sean McVay, I could see being quite interested in the idea of having a left-handed quarterback to kind of offer a different perspective.
And the 49ers, I mean, they had Steve Young for years, so they know they don't have a problem with left-handed quarterbacks in San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. Jay, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 5.5-point favorites in this game. Who you got?
I'm taking the Bucks minus the 5.5. I think they're going to get it together because I really still feel like they're going to win the division, and they have to get it together to win the division. So I feel like this is the game. I think you ride Bucky Irvin like we talked about. And I feel like it could be wrong, but I feel like this is the type of time of the year where Miami could have been already like 1, 2, 3 Cancun.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that as well. I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying. I think that Miami might just be gone at this point because a lot of teams are gone in this stage of the season when everybody's kind of being eliminated. And the Bucks there are only 4 teams that are currently playing to get into the playoffs in the NFL. And it's the Buccaneers, the Panthers, the Steelers, and the Ravens. They're the only 4 teams that don't know if they're going to be in the playoffs yet. The others are fighting for playoff position, and everybody else is just fighting for
pride. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
It's divisions, not even the wild card that people are playing for.
Exactly. Wild card is sorted. It's all just the divisions that have got left to go. Jay, I'm also taking the Bucks in that one. Jay, the New York Jets are going up against the New England Patriots. The Patriots are 13.5-point favorites. Patriots have already clinched. They're looking to move on and become the number 1 seed in the AFC. This is a huge point spread, Jay. Is there a matchup that the Jets can target to actually win this game?
I don't think so, but I really hope they make Drake May play like shit because I really don't want to pay to send fucking Duffy a ring again. So we need Drake May to play like shit. But we got lucky already with Jahmyr Gibbs being shut down. So I'm like, you shut down Drake May, I might not have to send this thing across seas.
But the Drake May is the guy standing up for another British win in our fantasy league to keep the 100% record going. So let's see what happens there.
And Maddie's a fucking hater because he wants me to have to pay more. I already attacked him in the group chat for that. But I don't think there's a chance that – well, it's the NFL, so there's a chance. But I don't think there's a chance that the Jets win this game. I think the question is do the Patriots cover the spread? And sadly, I think they do.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I think the Patriots cover the spread. I think with Vrabel, they focus on their fundamentals. Vrabel's not going to let them kind of get away with not focusing on those fundamentals. And Jay, I think they really want Drake May to get an MVP ring.
I hope they run the ball 45 times and they're just like, hey, let's not get Drake hurt before the playoffs. I hope they protect the shit out of him.
Yeah, I think I think the one place where the Jets could cause some issues is that Patriots run game is kind of run defense has slowed down a little bit with Milton Williams' injury. As well, they could maybe get some run game going there, but I don't trust the Jets to do anything there on their third string quarterback. Me and Jay have both gone.
They better not be hurting fucking the Vikings' future quarterback in this game. I'd be upset if they were hurting Breece Hall.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to Minnesota for a 4th round pick.
That's the one thing that I'm thinking Breece Hall is playing to go to another team next year. Like, is this the game where he shows that, where he gets his draft pick stock up, or he gets his contract kind of stock up as well? Like, is this that game? Jay, the Cleveland Browns.
It's not the worst idea either, because Braylon. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say it's not the worst idea for the Jets because Braylon Allen's a good quarterback, and if you're just trying to get the cap space back down, reset with draft picks, you move on from Breece Hall. The only thing is for a running back, I don't think you get a high pick. I think at best you get a mid-round fourth. So, but I could be wrong on that.
I think with Breece Hall, it's really worth just trading him. I'm surprised they almost didn't trade him before the trade deadline. That's where you get the best value for trading your running back, by the way. Like, just before the trade deadline in season, when people are looking and going, we might really have something here. Or if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you're thinking, oh, shit, our running back room looks terrible. That's where you get, when teams are kind of on the cusp of doing something great, depending on their running back. Going into the season, teams are quite comfortable with their running backs not necessarily being stars. And then you think, oh, I can add a star later.
No, I agree. It's everybody's good with this is the best team we ever had. And then halfway through the year, you're like, we have a shot, but our whatever position sucks. We need to upgrade that before the trade deadline.
Exactly. That's the place where the Jets should have traded, but I imagine he'll be getting out of there this year. Jay, the Cleveland Browns are going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are 4.5-point favorites. If they win this game, they clinch the division and a playoff spot for another year. Jay, is this game a potential banana peel game for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Will they be looking ahead to the Ravens next week and looking back to the Ravens last week?
I don't know. I don't think they'll be looking ahead or back, but I do think this could be one of those games, and it also is going to hurt because you don't have DK Metcalf. Where are you going to generate this? Calvin Austin III is out, right? So where are you going to generate all this offense? You're going to run the ball. You're going to ride a 42-year-old quarterback. I do think it would be kind of weirdly poetic if Michael Strahan got the sack record on Brett Favre. And then another Packers legend, even though he's playing for the Steelers, gets sacked to give Myles Garrett the new sack record. I think that would be kind of cool, like poetic in itself, which I think Myles Garrett gets it this week. I think he will end up setting the sack record. Because I don't think Rodgers has a choice but to hold the ball, because who the fuck are you getting the ball out to at this point? And this is the real reason why I am taking the Browns -4.5. Not that I necessarily think the Browns will win. I think they can, but I think it's going to be a close game because where does either team generate a ton of offense from? And I like the Browns running game way better than I like the Steelers running game. And I think this becomes a problem for the Steelers. And just for NFL fans, I kind of hope the Browns win, because how exciting does next week become because of the Ravens and the Steelers both trying to make the playoffs?
Yeah, where do you generate that? Where do you generate that offense from if you're the Steelers? Well, it has to be the run game. Well, you're not going to generate that run game against the Cleveland Browns defense. They don't let you run the ball on them. The Browns very rarely get run on. I think they're a top 10 run defense in the league. But in terms of yards per carry, in terms of the yards per carry, they're top 5 in the league as well. They only give up 4 yards per carry in their run defense as well. So the Steelers aren't going to be able to generate that there, because the Browns are just going to flood the box, and they're good when they don't have to flood the box anyway. And they don't have any wide receivers out there to really play. Aaron Rodgers is going to be in trouble with Myles Garrett outside of there. I don't see him getting the ball out particularly quickly. And if he does, then it's not going to be for much yardage. This Browns defense is possibly the best in the league going up against the Steelers. And on the other side of the ball, the Steelers, their defense isn't great. The Browns Shedeur Sanders is prone to a mistake, but he is pretty fucking electric back there. Like while he's back there as well, like he'll make stuff happen no matter who his wide receivers are. It's just he also might get sacked for a safety at any point. You're not 100% sure which way that's going to go. Keyshawn Judkins, I believe, is out for the year, but they've been able to put a run game.
Yeah, he dislocated his
Keyshawn.
ankle.
They've been able to put get a run game together without Keyshawn Judkins early in the season. I actually think the Browns do come out and win this game. I think the spread is pretty large in favor of the Steelers, and I think that's like cautiousness from Vegas. Give me the Browns in this one. I think the Browns might go out and win. I think that defense is going to shut down the Steelers all together and will be set up for a grandstand finish next week.
And I think the Browns may send the house on a lot of plays at Rodgers. I know he's one of the best against the blitz through history, but there's nobody you have to worry about getting double teamed or blowing the top off right now, right? So if you got Ward, you just like lock up whoever the best receiver is with Ward on the outside, double team the other one, and then send the fucking house. Like, I mean, who becomes the number one target? Freiermuth? Like, is that who we are? But I don't know.
Adam Thielen, Scotty Miller. Look, Scotty Miller takes the top off. That's fine. So
I forgot they even had Scotty Miller, so that's funny you said that. But yes,
yeah, you need to start.
It's not bad.
You need to have play one high safety just to worry about Scotty Miller taking the top off at the back. But DK Metcalf was their guy who was stretching the defense, and they weren't really taking that as well. So give me the Browns in this one. Okay, Jay, the Indianapolis Colts, and we've already said that Myles Garrett breaks the sack record.
For me, I'm going Pollard and Carter just because I don't trust that Waddle goes off in this game, but I'm not the one to ask because my fantasy season ended before it started, it seemed like this year.
Yeah, for the Seahawks defense over Steelers defense.
Yeah. Yeah, Seahawks are fucking nasty. And I think the Steelers give up more yards and points than people think against the Browns today just because Jerry Jeudy and Shedeur Sanders quietly have been coming up with a connection there.
Yeah, also with the Seahawks defense, they might give up more points against who they're going up against again. Sorry.
Oh fuck! I just had that.
They're going up against the Panthers. The Panthers are so up and down, but the Seahawks get so many sacks and are always in danger for turnovers as well. So they get lots of sacks. So like you're getting extra points for the sacks. So it's not about points and yardage for the Seahawks versus the Steelers. It's just I don't know how much the Steelers are going to get to Shedeur Sanders with their defensive line problems, and then Seattle are sneakily in the same conversation as the Browns, the Texans, and the Broncos. For me, they just don't get the same love as those guys. So I hope we could help. I would start Pollard, I think, and Carter. Go on.
If you literally think about it, I had DK Metcalf, Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson, and Derrick Henry at some points this year and still didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, it was a rough year for you, man. Your decisions
brutal. I was fighting to stay 500 all season. It was brutal. Thank you, Kyler Murray, you fucker.
You were one of those where I was like, every decision you make is correct. It's just been unfortunate. Like going through it, you didn't make a bad, like you were making the trade that felt right at the time, and it was just unfortunate. My season was weird. Like I started off on an absolute bombshell tear, and then all of a sudden, I would just get every single game a wide receiver would score 0 points. Like, and then I'd have a wide receiver on the bench that would score 25, and I just was never picking the right starting lineup. It was a rough one in the playoffs as well. Jay, the Indianapolis Colts have officially been eliminated after the Texans win last night. They're going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have now clinched their division. The Jaguars are 5.5-point favorites. Jay, how will the Colts cope with being knocked out of the playoffs, and how did the Jaguars continue this excellent run of form?
Okay, did you see the odd thing going around now? The curse of the new NFL curse? Have you seen this?
No, go on.
So the Lions lose because Amon St. Brown does the Trump dance, according to the new curse, so it's the Trump curse, and they've been doing showing a lot of different things. Well, the Colts haven't won a game since Pat McAfee had him on the show. So they're 0-5 since that. So I don't know. It was just funny. It made me laugh because somehow we brought football back to American politics too. You know what I mean? In this country,
Yeah.
It's just funny. No, I think the Colts were on just a tear and on such a great season, and I was so excited watching them. I had fun watching Danny Dimes, and then Danny Dimes tears up his leg, and I don't know what they do. You come out, you do your best with Phillip Rivers, who played all right, but I still don't think that he's the guy, so you just go out, give him 2 more games of hurrah. Do you play him now was the question. I think you have to. I know other people were like, you got to get the young quarterback back in. I don't think you can call Phillip Rivers off the couch and then bench him unless his play dictated it, right? Because then it's kind of an ass move and it's disrespectful to kind of a legend of the game type shit. But if you're the Colts, I don't know what you do right now to try to fix the ship because you have to feel sick. You thought you were on half the season going, this could be our year, and now you're not even going to make the playoffs. And then the Jags have everything to play for. So if the Jags don't win this game, they don't deserve to make the playoff, or they don't deserve to win the division.
Yeah, sorry, I said that the Jags had clinched, but actually if they lose this game and the Texans win both of theirs, but they can clinch. I think if they
but
do
the Texans
clinched.
I think that was the weird thing. The Texans clinched.
The Texans, that's it. The Texans clinched their playoff spot, eliminated the Colts, and the Jags clinched today if they win, I believe.
Right.
The Jags clinched the division today if they win. So I think the Jags are going to come in hyped. I think the Colts, I agree with you. I think they were, they were fighting for the number 1 seed, and then things started to go a little wrong, and then Daniel Jones breaks both of his legs, and it's, the seasons just fall off from there. Jay, I agree that it's an ass move to bring Phillip Rivers in and then bench him, but
do you really want to win?
On a human level, do it, right? On a human level, you keep Phillip Rivers in, but on an actual football brain level, do you not bring in Anthony Richardson, and see if he could do something?
Is he back? I thought it was the other guy. The other guy. Is Richardson back? Isn't he still on IR?
No, they activated his practice window.
Okay. They were all talking about the other kid, and I forget who that was who came in when Daniel Jones' leg got ripped off before they signed Phillip Rivers. They were all like, go see what that kid's got. And I'm like, you can't do that. Plus, do you really want to win? I don't know. I don't know if you really want to win right now if you're the Colts. Go get a better draft pick.
Oh, sorry. Anthony Richardson has not been activated off IR.
Okay.
They did open the door to his practice window, and then he did his medical and was basically not activated off IR. But if it was Anthony Richardson, I'd be tempted to bring him back in because it's sick. Let's try and show the league that Anthony Richardson's got something with the way that the quarterback picture is for a lot of teams. Maybe someone's stupid enough will bite on Anthony Richardson and we can get something back for him. But yeah, if it's the other guy, just keep Phillip Rivers in. That makes a lot of sense.
If I'm a team, though, who is looking at an older quarterback and maybe I can develop again, if you're the Rams, because Matt Stafford can't play forever, and you can get Richardson for a 5th or 6th or a 6th or a 7th because they just want something, and you can bring him in as your 3rd and let him learn behind McVay or one of these guys. I think that's not a bad spot for a team to go. I'll give you a 6th. Just to see if we can make something out of this super athletic freak of nature. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you're the Denver Broncos and Sean Payton and you love Taysom Hill so much, why can't Anthony Richardson be Taysom Hill?
That's a big-ass Taysom Hill. Yeah, would Anthony Richardson be willing to play a hybrid role? Because if he would, then you get something out of it and extend your career. Yeah. You and I have talked about this, and quarterbacks won't do it. But if you're Justin Fields and a team comes and says, I want you to play tight end, I'm like, yep, I'll do it.
I want you to be Taysom Hill. Everybody should just walk in. Taysom Hill got a massive payday 3 years ago. It's not like you don't get paid. And
you get to play.
Yeah, exactly. You get paid.
Do you want to play football?
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? But Jay, on with the Jags, I'm taking the Jags in this one at 5.5 point favorites as well. I think the Colts probably fall off and kind of
I'll double down on that.
Might be hitting Cancun in this one. Jay, the Tennessee Titans are going up against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are 1.5-point favorites. That's come down from 2.5-point favorites before kickoff. Cam Ward versus Tyler Shough. Who is having the better season?
Overall season, Tyler Shough. In the recent times, Cam Ward. And who is the better quarterback? It is definitely Cam Ward from what I've watched. He's just on a really shit team. That is not to shit on Tyler because I think he's been playing better than most of us thought he would on that horrendous team. You and I even talked about at the beginning of the year, even if he's any good, this is a bad team to find out if he's good on. He has actually impressed me. I know the more I don't know why I've been weirdly getting into these Saints interviews because they're garbage, but like this Kellen Moore and, everything going on down there. They love this kid. They fucking love this kid. I don't think they're looking for a new quarterback. I think they believe they got their quarterback. So this isn't me totally shitting on him, but I think Cam Ward is the better quarterback. And I think at the end of the year, he has been playing better, but throughout the whole year, it's Tyler Shough.
I think Tyler Shough has had a better season than Cam Ward, but only because of how far back we all thought Tyler Shough was on Cam Ward. Cam Ward is just a better quarterback than Tyler Shough, so we expect him to be better. We expected Tyler Shough to be much worse than this. So I agree.
Cam Ward is the first quarterback who was a 0-star coming out of high school to get drafted first overall.
Yeah, it's like I actually really, really like Cam Ward and what we see from Cam Ward. It's the Titans are so bad. I think both of these teams, though, are actually building something very nice. And I think that the Saints actually have the opportunity to be one of the teams that could be worse to first next year. Like with the way that they're building, with Kellen Moore putting together a solid offense, it's the first time they won't be in cap hell going into next year. The Saints have an opportunity. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be in flux because their older guys are really aging out now. The Falcons, we don't know like what's going on with the Falcons. The Panthers are the same. They're one of the weirdest teams in the NFL. So the Saints could be one of those up and down teams. Jay, we both best bet on this game, but we best bet in opposite directions. I've picked the Saints in this one at 2.5. You picked the Titans in this one at +2.5. Jay, the spread is now 1.5. I'm still sticking with the Saints. Are you still sticking with the Titans?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Titans are going to come out and own this game, I feel. It's just a feeling. I don't know.
Do you know what? I know it's an absolutely nothing game with two of the worst teams in the league, but I'm genuinely really want to watch this game. Like, I'm genuinely excited for it. Like, they're two of the more interesting teams for me. They're the two teams I'd be most interested to be the GM of going into the offseason. I think like that's where I'm at with them. Not that I want the job because it's a big job, but if I'm just playing for fun, that's where I'd want to be. Jay, the Carolina
with that big pays, I want that job. Give me that job.
Yeah. Jay, the Carolina Panthers are going up against the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are 7-point favorites. Jay, the Carolina Panthers, they're one of the most up and down teams in the league. Which Carolina Panthers do we see this week? If they win this week, it goes a long way to clinching the division.
Okay, so we talk about all the times that there's levels to this, right? There's levels to the NFL. There's levels to all professional sports. And actually, you see no better sign of that than look at European football, right? They literally level you in and out by your play, right? With your relegation and stuff. So there's levels to this shit. And the Seahawks are on a different level than the Packers. The Seahawks are on a different level than Tampa. So I think that I don't care what Carolina team shows up. I think you're going to get hit in the mouth by the Seahawks.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Seahawks defense is just so stellar that they can come out and just destroy a guy like Brees Young as well. 7-point favorites, the Panthers have so far, they beat the Packers and they've beat the Rams and they've beat the Bucks when they shouldn't really have. So it's not like they don't come out and beat.
If you noticed, I left the Rams out of that. Out of that whole argument, I left the Rams out because that was the outlier. Like, okay, you beat a top team. Like,
it's not like they don't come out and like beat good teams. It's just the Seahawks, especially on the defensive side of the ball, are such a surgical instrument with the way that they get to quarterbacks. But Jay, the one thing that I would like to highlight is one of the reasons that the Seahawks have been doing so well, one of the reasons that they've been so explosive, and I would argue are favorites to clinch the number 1 seed in the NFC now, is the Jackson Smith and Jigba Sam Darnold connection. Has that fallen off? Or why has it fallen off a little bit?
Well, I think the more you go in a season, the more the teams start to have tape on you. Like, this is the first year with Sam Darnold with the Seahawks, so now you got more film. You can go and game plan better against them. And I'm still really stuck on the fact, did you really say that? Do you really believe the Seahawks are the favorite to win that division? Or are you just saying that because you don't want the 49ers to do anything after you said they were going to win 5 games?
Well, the Seahawks are a game ahead of the Niners. They play the
Niners win out, it's theirs. If the Niners win out, it's theirs.
The Seahawks and the 49ers play each other in the
next week. Yes,
next week. I think that the Seahawks are better than the 49ers, and I think the Seahawks will beat the 49ers.
I was asking because I think the 49ers are going to win this, but we're all assuming the Seahawks and the 49ers win this week, and this is the NFL, so we could have a whole different conversation next week.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Jay, we're both taking the Seahawks at 7 points in this one. We then move on to the Cincinnati Bengals and the Arizona Cardinals. Doesn't really have much on it, but is this like a sneaky, fun shootout game here with the way the Cardinals have been playing football, the way the Bengals play football? And is it one of those games that the Bengals kind of have to win to carry some good vibes into next season and stop any Joe Burrow drama and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins drama as well?
I think why this could be such a fun game is because Jacoby Brissett is playing because he wants to be a starter, and he's trying to show the league, I can start in this league. And I think we all think there's a good chance that he could be Arizona's starter next year, but you can't come out and shit the bed the last 2 weeks, right? Like, you got to come out and play well. You don't even got to win. You just got to come out and play well. And then on the other side, Joe Burrow ain't played pretty much all year, so he wants to play. He wants to win. Like, you know what I mean? And then you got to feel like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, even though you're out of it, they're like, fuck, we get to play with Joe. Like, we get to go out and play and have fun. And so I think this is one of those games that could be really sneakily fun to watch. And I think we could have a high-scoring game that's a lot of fun. But with that all said, I still think that the Bengals win this game just because I think Joe Burrow wants to murder people on the way out of the season.
Yeah, I think also on top of this, like, the Cardinals, they have a sneaky good defense that's all injured. Like, it's not put together right. It's not been put together right the way that the Cardinals are playing. Like, when you actually look at the Cardinals depth chart, you go, okay, like, the Cardinals have got something. This is why we thought at the beginning of the season the Cardinals had actually built their team in the correct way for once, and it was going to be the first time that we saw the Arizona Cardinals have some consistency going throughout the season. But unfortunately, their run game defense has just not been good. The Bengals have actually a very good run game. I know that the stars are Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Chase Brown has actually been their best offensive player throughout the entire year this season. So I think that the Bengals put this away. They get they win by 7 points. Give me the Bengals in this one. But guys, don't switch off on this one. This will be a really fun game to watch. Have this as one of your boxes on your full screen if that's the kind of thing that you're up for, alongside obviously the games that matter being like, what are the games that matter this week? The Steelers, the Jaguars, they're the games that matter going in. The Seahawks obviously for a number 1 seat. Jay, let's just move straight in to the late window here because we don't have many games in the late window. We have the Raiders and the Giants, with the Giants as 2.5 point favorites in this one. That is just switched. The Raiders started off this spread betting as favorites. But Jay, there's been a lot of news about the Raiders sitting key players like Max Crosby in this game in order to get the number 1 overall pick. Jay, which team needs the number 1 overall pick more? Because a loss here clinches the number 1 overall pick.
Well, the Raiders need it more because of the quarterback situation. If that's what you're going to do, if you feel that Mendoza is the number one quarterback, then you need that pick. I want to know before we get into this game, why does the NFL hate us? Like, you have 7 or 8 games in the first window and 2 in the second. Like, what the hell are we doing? Why isn't it like?
It's because it's the Bills Eagles, right? They've got the Bills Eagles as the other game, so they basically get 3 primetime games if they put the Raiders Giants here. Like, if they put the Raiders Giants here, no one's going to watch that. So then they get 3 primetime games. But why? I don't get why they do that.
Because if it's a stinker, then we're all fucked. If it's a shitty game, we're all fucked, right? Like, that's the thing. And it's like, why do you not spread these out? Why do you not have 4 and 4? I think there's or whatever. I think there's 7 or 8 games in the beginning. Whatever you got. So you got 8 or 9 games. Why don't you do 5 and 4 or 4 and 4? I don't understand what the NFL does and why the late window always has less games.
All right, so you could at least put one of those games that is like the Arizona Cardinals versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Put that game in the late window as well, because that game means nothing, but has the potential to just be some mad fucking game for no reason. Like,
I was going to say Titans Saints either.
Yeah,
Titans Saints. I would want.
Like, you want to stream everyone to the Bills Eagles? Great. That makes sense to me. It means we can all just watch the Bills Eagles. But you're right. If that game's an absolute stinker, then at least you've got some potential mad games going on that do something else for you as well.
Don't we all watch more than one game at a time now in 2025 also? Like, so you're getting more than one stream from me. If you had 3 games, you'd get all 3 streams from me. So, like, I don't know. Like, I watch 3 or 4 games at a time unless the Vikings are playing. You know what I mean? Then I'm locked in. But, yeah, I watch 3 or 4 games at a time. I don't know. It's crazy to me. But when it comes to this game, I think this is actually be one of those weirdly exciting games to watch because you want to see, like, what do either of these teams can do against other teams that are, I don't even want to say just as bad, because I think the Raiders are way worse than the Giants. And I think the Giants with Robinson, with Malik Neighbors next year, with Scattaboo back, with I think that the Giants are moving in the right direction. And I think their offense could be electric next year. But I think this is a good, fun game that we all could watch and see. It's like the battle for the first overall pick, which, if you want, I got an idea about that too, which could make the NFL way more exciting. But I think the Raiders at the big thing. So I think the week where you do the Pro Bowl, in between the Super Bowl, you should have the 2 worst teams in the NFL play, and the winner gets the first overall pick.
Exactly. It makes the first overall pick a reward for actually doing something good, right? Or you have like a little mini playoff in those 2 weeks where it's like the top 4 teams go out and try and get the first overall pick. Like, whatever. Like, it just, that makes loads of sense to me. I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying as well, Jay. I think the Giants are a much better team than the Raiders.
The Raiders are smart for sitting Max. I think they're smart for sitting Max, even though he hates it.
Yeah, but I also think that the Giants are smart to go out and win this game. I think the Raiders are smart to make sure that they lose it. I think the Giants are smart to make sure that they go out and win it, because the Giants have no need for the first overall pick. The number 2 pick does great things for the Giants. I would trade back if I was the Giants there, because
I didn't dive into the draft yet, but if they can get a pass rusher, you know what I mean. But I get what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But they've got their key positions going into next year. They're not going to make any changes. It's just they've been injured like throughout on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, if you can get an offensive lineman, like if you get the best offensive lineman, that makes sense as well. If you get the best pass rusher, that makes sense. But the number 2 pick gives them the ability to do pretty much everything they want to do. The number 1 pick gives the Raiders the ability to get Mendoza if they want, or trade back if they want to as well, if they want to build up doing something else. Like, I think the Giants are going to come out and put the absolute beat down on the Raiders. Give me the Giants in this one.
Does this sound crazy? But I think getting the first overall pick actually helps Pete Carroll keep his job more than winning these games.
Yeah. Weirdly, you're probably right. Have you got the Giants in this one as well, Jay?
Yeah, give me the Giants. I think this is kind of a low spread, which I don't know. Vegas knows shit I don't know sometimes, though, right? Like, because sometimes I think Vegas is completely crazy and then they nail it. So
It switched. It switched. It was the Raiders, and now it's the Giants favorite.
why couldn't I get it when the Raiders were favorite? Fuck, Like,
Jay, moving on to the Buffalo Bills versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bills are 2.5-point favorites in this game. Jay, I think the big question here is, can the Buffalo Bills defense hang on to the Eagles run game? The Eagles run game has shown signs of improvement, and the Bills have the fourth worst run defense in the league. What do you think on this one?
I don't know. It sounds like, and this is the fans, not the team, but Eagles fans are already accepting this loss. They're like, we're just going to play and rest, and we're already in the playoffs. And I'm like, I don't know why anybody doesn't think that seeding matters, but it absolutely does after the first round. So I don't know, but it sounds like the Eagles fans have already mailed it in. Makes me start to wonder, do players and stuff start to think like that? But either way, I think the Bills are the Eagles are the better team, but the Bills are the better. The Eagles are built as the better team, talent-wise, up and down the roster. But the Bills are the team that always seem to figure out how to win when their backs are against the wall, where the Eagles this year have seemed to struggle when their backs are against the wall. And it makes me think that because there's more on the line for the Bills, that I think the Bills come out and win this game.
All right. Jay, I actually think differently on this one. I think with the I agree with the Eagles. Like, it does make sense to kind of like phone it in a little bit with the Eagles. Like, they can't really move seeding. They can only move seeding if the Bears lose if the Bears lose out and the Eagles win out. Right. That's the only way they can move up in seeding. They're currently in third. They're a game behind the Bears in second. And obviously the Seahawks playing the Bears. So
the Bears play the 49ers though.
Yeah, they become a game behind the 49ers if they lose to the Bears. They still have the same problem if the 49ers win. They need then the 49ers to win and then lose in the final game against the Seahawks as well. So it's the same issue.
Right, but all of this is possible if you look at the schedule.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. A lot of things have to happen, but it's possible. And that's where you have to play for that.
Exactly. So they have to play this game because then if it's impossible going into next week. And players don't need to sit for 3 weeks or 2 weeks, sorry. Like, players don't, 2, 3. With the divisional round, is there a bye week in between the playoffs?
No. That was a couple years ago. They did that bye between the they go right in next week after the end of the season.
But players don't need that amount of time to sit. Like, it's like when teams have the bye. Teams have already clinched the first overall pick, and then they rest on week 18. I'm like, why? That's what the bye is for. Like, you've got the bye there. Like,
if you have the bye,
injury, bye.
Yeah, if you have the bye, I'm a firm believer you play your starters the first half and then sit them.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, the Bills have one of the weakest run defenses in the NFL. I think the Eagles can come out and control this game. The one issue is if Josh Allen goes Superman against Adoree Jackson, the third cornerback for the Eagles, that could be a real problem for the Eagles to have to solve. But Jay, can the Eagles slow down Josh Allen being Superman and James Cook's run game as well? Their defensive line is improving. I'm actually picking the Eagles in this one over the Buffalo Bills.
Well, I feel like the Bills finally are starting to realize that they need James Cook to help out. Like, you need Batman and Robin on this team. You can't just have one Batman, right? And at this point, I feel like you have two Batmans because you have the Batman of the quarterback world who will throw a cape on, and I think James Cook has proved that he can throw a cape on at times too and run the ball. He's electric, and I don't know why he is not getting credit for being one of the best running backs in the NFL. I keep seeing these lists of the top 3 to 5, and everybody keeps leaving James Cook off of it, and I think I don't know if they're crazy or they just forget he exists because the Bills forget to use him.
He's one of the most underrated stars in the league. With that as well, I think the other side, we've got we've got 3 minutes before kickoff, but we'll just have to run over.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Kickoff. We'll just have to run slightly over into kickoff. But the San Francisco 49ers are 3.5-point favorites against the Chicago Bears. This is moving on to Sunday Night Football. The Bears have clinched the NFC North. Will they have the same tenacity going into this game, knowing that they've clinched? And can the Bears actually cope with the 49ers offense whatsoever? And does the 49ers defensive injuries take them out of Super Bowl contention? We can answer the Super Bowl contention after watching this game. Jay, what's your thoughts on this one, 49ers and Bears?
I think the 49ers have more to play for. I think the 49ers are a better team. And right now, I think the 49ers have been together so long that they're a more cohesive unit. I think Robert Saleh helps because I think without Robert Saleh, this defense would be so horrid. But he does figure out how to get stops on third downs with scheme. The Bears do have enough offense to win this game. They have a great defense. I just think that every team has a Christian McCaffrey problem when it comes to their defense because no matter what you do, they still figure out how to get big plays out of what I think may be the best player in the NFL. So I think you're always going up against that. But I think the 49ers win this game. And I'm taking the 49ers because I'm taking the 49ers to win their division. So I have them winning both games. And if they don't win this week, that kills my prediction.
Yeah, and I think I took the Chicago Bears as one of my best bets, and I regret that as one of my best bets. I still think that the Bears could win this game. I think betting on the Bears as underdogs is always a solid bet to do. But with them clinching the division, I do worry about the tenacity, although I think Ben Johnson's going to have them fired up, right? I think like Ben Johnson won't have a problem firing the Bears up. It's just, do they quite have it up there? The 49ers defense has performed much better than it should have ever been performing. Can they do that against this Bears running game? The 49ers slightly weak on run defense. Can they do this against this physical Bears run game? So still give me the Bears in this one. I'm not as confident as I was on Tuesday when we picked this either. And Jay, for our last game, we have Monday Night Football where the Atlanta Falcons are going against the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are 7.5-point favorites. Jay, the Falcons have got interesting questions everywhere. Is their defense actually good? It's sometimes amazing. We don't really know. Is Kirk Cousins the best quarterback solution for the Falcons as well? That's always an interesting question. But most importantly, Jay, do the Rams require a really solid win here to stop this slight wobble that they've got in form? They're getting lost in this divisional battle between the 49ers, the Seahawks, and themselves.
Yeah, I think that the Rams know their identity, though. I think they're a veteran enough team where they don't worry about it. I think the Falcons have a good defense. I think a lot of times their offense puts them behind the eight ball because of bad field position, not letting them breathe, that kind of thing. Kirk O'Chains has come back to play the last few weeks, playing like Kirk Cousins. I think this is a really close game, so I am taking Los Angeles to win, but I am taking the Atlanta Falcons minus the 7.5 because I think that they cover, and I just think that the Rams are one of those teams where you don't want to see them in the playoffs, but also a loss right here wouldn't shock me with a Rams team that's been struggling. But again, I think guys like McVay and Stafford, Devontae Adams, they have so much experience. They will help steer this ship. But I think also they need to focus on getting healthy is more important right now than it is winning this game for the Rams because you're already in the playoffs. And I think you want both of your star receivers and your quarterback going in healthy as can be.
Yeah, I think Stafford with the MVP on the line will have them fired up enough going into this game. He'll be wired enough to
I already think it's Drake May's, but yeah, I keep forgetting because I already gave it to Drake May. So I keep forgetting he's in that mix. Yeah.
Yeah. Stafford's still there in the mix. And I think with Stafford, I'm like, if he gets a big win here, fine, that makes sense. The Falcons, the way that they've been playing, their offense has looked better. Kyle Pitts has looked better. Bijan Robinson is has been playing some of the best running back football in the league. So I can see how it will be close. But I think the Rams come out and just get the job done. They treat it as a business trip. They put these Falcons teams to bed. And then they're on to next week, where we see if they have the opportunity to win the division. And if they don't have the opportunity to win the division next week, maybe that's when they start to sit players, and that's when they have the fall off. But I think they go in the veteran presence to go in and win this week to allow next week to be those decisions of resting and what not. Jay, fantasy player to watch for you this week. Who have you got? A player that teams that people might be waiting to sit, depending on who they're going up against?
I don't know if it's waiting to sit, but a guy who I think is going to break out, and if you're even questioning it, make sure you start him. Drake London against the Rams. The Rams give up a lot of receptions to tight ends. Drake London is big body, gets in the middle. One of Kirk O'Chain's best friends, moves the chains, possession receiver. Drake London, big game against the Rams because his style of play is what actually the Rams give up the most.
Yeah, and Jay, I'm going in the similar ilk. I'm going with Saquon Barkley going up against the Buffalo Bills. If you're thinking of sitting him, you haven't been watching the Buffalo Bills all year on their run defense, make sure to play Saquon Barkley. I know it's tempting to drop him because of some low production numbers, but Saquon Barkley is the guy to have out there against the Buffalo
Rico
Bills.
Waddle, big run. He wants that $1 million bonus. He needs 73 yards. He busts out a 10-yard run to start the game. Rico, go get your money. I hope you get paid. I was going to be a smart ass and say Derrick Henry was your fantasy player to watch because of the 47.5 he put up yesterday, but
yeah.
All right.
Jay,
all right,
that's
Daddy, they just had kickoff, so we made it through.
Sorry, go on, man.
Oh, no, I was setting you up. I was just saying, hey, we made it through the show.
Yeah, we made it through the show. Just had kickoffs. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking with us on this one. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe and notification buttons. And Jay, send us out like you always do.
All right, I just want to thank everybody. Our views have been going up a lot, and we really appreciate you. We love all the interaction. Hopefully we get some more interaction in our recap show this week coming up, so make sure you stay tuned for that. All right, we got a lot of shows on the channel, so just hit the like, subscribe, and notification so you don't miss anything. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.